Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Double Down seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which, when we start the match, every card in our starting deck gets duplicated, and whenever we play a unit, we will also play another unit from our deck with the same provision cost. Today we are checking out an archetype that just got humongous changes from the most recent patch, so let's go take a look at the deck. So today we'll be playing a Nilfgaard Imperial Formation Soldiers deck, and both Imperial Formation and Soldiers got substantial reworks from today's patch, so almost everything has changed. And if you aren't familiar with all those changes, then you can check out the video that we released yesterday that covers almost all those things, because it's a pretty huge deal. The most changes I've ever seen to one faction in one patch ever before. So, in particular, our Bronze Soldiers are much different than they used to be. They're much stronger. In general, what they do is they have to have armor, and then if they do, they can deal some form of damage at the end of our turn. So, they also have a new flanking keyword in many cases, and what that does is if a card is on the end of one of the rows, either the leftmost or rightmost side, in the range row, and they have flanking, they will gain 1 armor at the end of our turn, which again, because many of these abilities require that they have armor to activate, is important. Or if we play them on either end of the melee row, then they use their end of turn ability a second time. And so that means we can potentially get a lot of extra damage. And so that's what we're looking to do here, is play a bunch of these soldiers and get a bunch of extra damage. And just make sure you take another look at them, because you may have previously known what they do, but chances are they've changed, and in some cases changed substantially since you last took a look at them. For example, Recruit, not all that helpful by itself, but with that order ability we can get a more powerful Bronze Soldier to replace it. And the Daerlin Soldiers, especially in Double Down, when we have 2 of these guys in our starting deck, both of them create extra copies of each other, and we have 2 additional copies of it in Double Down, so it's going to be 6 total Daerlin Soldiers in our starting deck, so this is just ridiculous swarm capabilities here. So we can go with a bunch of damage with our other Bronze Soldiers, and then with that swarm with the soldiers, Daerlin Soldiers specifically, we can use stuff like Vreemde to boost all of them up and get pretty crazy tempo there. Or alternatively, if we're going with the more damage-centric soldiers, we can use Vrygheff to trigger those end-of-turn abilities additional times for even more damage. We also have cards like our Defender, Ffion, to help protect us when we use Cahir in the melee row, who absorbs our opponent's boosts, and previously one of the counters to Cahir was moving him out of the melee row, because then he can no longer get boosted. But with Imperial Formation, if that does end up happening, now we can use that to swap him back into the melee row, so that once again, he's getting boosted, and he's a soldier, so we'll still get the armor and get the little boost as well. And then on top of that, Affan has also been reworked, and now once we use all of our leader ability charges, Affan will get played from our deck, and that means that because he's a 10 provision card and he's getting played, not summoned, with Double Down, if that is the first unit that we are playing, then we will also play a second 10 provision cost unit from our deck. And so that is just absolutely ridiculous tempo to get both Affans out, and then also get another 10 provision cost card from our deck, that being Letho Kingslayer, which we could use to either transform into an additional Cahir for even more ability to absorb our opponent's boosts, or to transform into additional copy of Damien, and that way we can get even more leader ability charges, and that means that, well, we can do even more of those boosts and position swaps, which can also be helpful for swapping around who is in flanking position. If, for example, for some reason, one of your Bronze Soldiers doesn't really have an ability that's all that relevant anymore, you can swap it over for a different card that has a better flanking ability that you want to activate. And it gives armor, which is significant, because then we can also use Garrison. That will give us a copy of a Bronze Soldier, which could be one of your damage soldiers, or if you don't have the Daerlin Soldiers, this is a way to just get all of them out there, assuming you already have a soldier on the board, and then you can boost all the copies of that soldier, again, Daerlin Soldiers being the best option, and give them all armor. Once you have that, the armor on ideally all of those units, and with all those leader ability charges, you can get armor on basically everything. You use Affan, and again, you'll get 2 copies of Affan, and boost the entire board, meaning that we have amazing swarm potential as well. And again, remember, these Affans are coming out on the same turn with a Letho potentially, and it's just absolutely crazy how much value we can get from that big burst. Just a lot of things you need to do in one turn, so prepare yourself for a lot of clicks. But that is basically the idea of the deck here. Outside of that, because we have so many units that we're trying to get on the board, we have a few special cards in case we run out of board space, because we likely will at some point. So assuming our opponent is also going to be playing a lot of units, we can use Stammelford's Tremors for some damage, and similarly Lacerate as well. And we also saw that there's a Mahakam Ale that you could either use in case Cahir gets locked. Maybe they get rid of the defender and still find a way to lock him. Maybe you already played your defender, Cahir gets locked, or Damien gets locked. You can remove the lock this way. Also just a way to get some form of value, even when your rows are full. So that's the idea. Basically, with all the new Nilfgaard soldiers, we have a ton of damage and swarm potential, and with that swarm in particular, we can get a ton of tempo. So, let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, so we definitely don't want one Affan, let alone two Affans in hand, because we can get them out with our leader ability, so let's swap you guys out here. Yeah, they'll start with Cantarella. Okay, well, I mean, for what it's worth, this is a bug, where Cantarella, well, would have stolen a 7 provision cost unit from our deck if we had one, but we don't, fortunately. So rather than play 2 cards in their deck, when they play a disloyal card, they play a card from our deck if we have one of the same provision cost. So fortunately, dodged a bit of a bullet there. But they do still have this crossbowman, which we could proceed to get rid of the armor on it and shut it down, at least for the moment. So why don't we try just that by playing our own crossbowman. And then this Alba Pikeman, I think we put you melee row. Okay, they're going to create an Ard Feainn Crossbowman. Again, this is a bug. So they get the crossbowman from the Duchess Informed. This one came from our deck. So guys, just don't play disloyal units in this event. It's not supposed to work that way. So, you know, just be cool about it, right? You know? But alas. Now we can still get more armor on this guy, but I mean he's in the range row, so it's gonna happen if he's flanking. But we'd also like to get more soldiers out here, of course, to make sure that we can still activate this and potentially shut down their soldiers, which, I mean, this is basically what we were trying to do. So, we can use you for some damage. Yeah, I think that might need to be our direction here. And, oh, granted, I would like for you to be in the range row for flanking purposes. Yeah. Tell you what we'll do. We'll use a leader ability charge here to bump you down. Yeah. To do that. Because we don't care about you flanking stuff, but we do care about all these guys flanking. Okay, Imperial Diplomacy, in this case, is going to be enough to get rid of that. Oh, I thought they were going after the Cavalry. Alas, they did not. So they don't get the damage from these guys on that turn because they did not play a soldier. But we can make sure that we play a soldier either through Alba Pikeman, through recruits, switching into a different soldier on a later turn, or maybe we go this route, and with it, we'll get another soldier out from our deck, and it is another recruit. So on our next turn, we'll swap these into higher value soldiers. Okay, and that's their defender. Range row is a little bit odd. Not entirely sure what to make. Okay, well, maybe they're just spreading it across 2 different rows. I mean, we technically, with these guys, can still damage even through their defender, but the armor is getting a little annoying for us to break through, of course. So, I mean, we'll swap out our recruits into some better soldiers, but we might want to cut this round a little bit short here, because it has not started off all that well for us. So let's... Maybe we go with armor with more heavy cavalry, or we could try breaking in a crossbowman, but at this point, might opt to save that. Tell you what, let's go Alba Pikeman. I know we had one that got shut down previously. Okay, and there is a soldier for us, or a crossbowman for us. So let's, I suppose, hit you. And then swap this recruit into another Alba Pikeman. And with that, we only have so many flanking cards, true. But, oh, we technically haven't played, okay, I mean, I guess we'll, play the other Alba Pikeman from our hand. With these, the recruits in particular, it gets a little confusing because you swap into a card, you play a card from your deck, and that activates double down. So, you play a ton of cards. Okay, now, again, this is, what did they, wait. Which one did they go for? It was Joachim, yeah. So this is a bug, once again. So, like, this is clear that they are just trying to manipulate what is a bug as their primary win condition, which, again, if your whole strategy is to use a bug to win, it's kind of cheating, if you ask me. So I strongly disapprove of it, and for that reason, I would highly discourage you guys from going that route. But alas, we could progress further here with this round. We unfortunately have a bunch of bleed capabilities on one defender that has fail, so that's not all that useful for us. We could still lacerate and hit a bunch of armored units. It's not going to help us all that much. So I think we probably cut it here in this round. We probably end it a little on the early side. They have played one more card than us, so it's not the end of the world. Okay, so at this point, they have stolen some of our bronze units out from our deck, so we might want to dump recruit. And to get another Oneiro is pretty huge, because we can play those and get the echoed copies. We still have Cahir, our defender, somewhere, both of our Ffions, some Lethos, and Damien, so we still have a lot of big stuff here. We played basically exclusively bronzes in round one. So I think we can stick with this, and we can use one of these guys as a throwaway if necessary, or really Oneiro into a throwaway. But I suspect that, yeah, they'll be pushing. Okay, and Affin's not a great card for them to play by itself. Okay, Joachim, since it is their second unit here, is not going to get another card out from our deck, otherwise it would have been either Affan or potentially Letho. Practitioner. So this will get boosted from Assimilate. So if they're going to push further here, this might have just been an attempt at going all high tempo, but they have already played now 2 more cards than us, so we're not super pressured to match them from a tempo standpoint. And for what it's worth, they gave us a Soldier, so Daerlin Soldier now has the setup necessary to flood this row. So that's kind of tempting, and might be what we go for here. In fact, I think we will go for that here. Let's go range row, because we have what? I think we have 6 in our starting deck? Well, yeah, let's go range row. Because it's a lot. It's kind of a lot. So tempo-wise, obviously we have matched them, which I don't think they expected. What we'd like to do with these foot soldiers, these Daerlin soldiers, if they continue to push here in this round, is give them armor, and then use... We have, is it Vreemde now? To boost all copies? Yeah. And or Affan to, if we can give them armor, give them all boosts as well. So they're gonna go with their leader ability into Oneiro, which is obviously about as good as it gets for them. Okay, and they're, again, trying to abuse a bug. So, like, they get Cahir, which really stinks, as we were planning on using him, maybe not in this round, because we start to go more swarm strats, but that does substantially hinder our ability to boost up these Daerlin soldiers. So we probably need to go back to the damaging route. Either that, or we go and get our Cahir out, and they'll kind of cancel each other out. I mean, they don't get boosted from opposing Cahirs, but, you know, our boosts are getting matched on their side, their boosts are getting matched on our side, so might need to do that. Otherwise, yeah, because it was going to be Vreemde next, and or Affan to set that up. So, yeah, I think we have to get Cahir out here. I think we do. And that, for what it's worth, that was a legitimate Cahir steal, because he's not a 7, so it didn't come from abusing the bug. But let's go leader into Cahir, and we know that's going to give us Cahir himself, and also our defender, because we had the chance previously of getting... Okay, now that's not ideal, of course, but we had the chance previously of getting double Cahir in this situation, but they obviously stole one from our deck, so we're guaranteed to get the other defender in that case. But spying on this and try to seal it, or purify it, okay. Now they have a bunch of Assimilate, which means that we will absorb those boosts. So we... If Cahir gets moved, we can use our leader ability to move him back into the melee row. So that's one of the benefits of this leader ability. And we can also, if necessary, use this Oneiro to get Mahakam Ale if he gets locked. So let's save this Oneiro. And what else would we like to do in that case? Problem is, a lot of it is boost-centric. We played a lot of our damage in the previous round, unless we're looking at the special cards. So maybe it's Royal Decree into... What do we have left for damage? Not a lot. I think it kind of has to be these, like, Cavalry. It kind of has to be them. We also have some in hand, so why don't we do that? Get you, who would kind of like to be in the range row, to be honest, to load up on armor. Could swap you out, and I think we will, for even more of the light cavalry, for even more flanking damage. So again, because they have Cahir, we kind of need to go the damage route here. This time they get Damien, which is definitely a good pickup for them. But the Assimilate procs, I mean, we match them with one Cahir. We could opt for... Yeah, they don't really want to boost. In fact, I think we definitely will opt for Royal Decree into Letho to transform into a second Cahir. So that way, we aren't just matching their boost, we're actually getting more boost than they are whenever they do that. So I think that's what we want here. It does make us susceptible to an Yrden, but I think we have to take that risk. So let's go Royal Decree, because as I said, we may want to save Oneiro. Now, normally you can actually get Letho out guaranteed from your leader ability, because Affan, and this will give us our other defender for what it's worth. That is going to boost them up a bit, but do we have anything else we'd like to give this to instead? Not sure that we do. Oh, technically speaking, should have been more mindful of our positioning here, but want to make sure you're still flanking. So we can move you to make sure that you are, but of course in doing so we give you the armor, but we give you the boost, which is getting absorbed by Cahir. So we're running out of board space, which is why we have a bunch of special cards in our deck with Lacerate and Oneiro, which will probably be for... have all of our damaging specials in hand? We might have a little bit more. But the biggest thing is now that if they try to boost further, they are going to be in a lot of trouble. Which they are going to do. They're trying to flood us. This is quite literally, they have done everything they can to make the most toxic deck possible, because they are abusing the bug, as I said, trying to steal cards from us. They're also trying to flood our row with spies, but fortunately, we've now made it backfire on them a bit. So we may even have to lacerate ourselves in this row to create a bunch of space. That is an option. Obviously, our rows are full, so we can't do anything other than play a special, and... yeah, we also have Stammelford, so we could go with damage there if necessary. But I think we'll use one Lacerate on them here. And then we, again, if necessary, can Lacerate ourselves to clear out some more space. But let's go for this. And take your pick. I mean, you have one armor. There's no armor in this row, so Desolate you. Technically, you can swap out. So that damage on you is potentially insignificant. Unfortunately, when this melee row is blocked, we can't really do anything with you. Alright, so they're going to try to replay Cantarella. Curious what they steal here. It's not all that valuable, and by triggering Assimilate, it actually benefits us more than it benefits them. We actually would have liked for them to have used Battle Preparation, because again, it would benefit us more than it benefits them. But now, again, it's a little tricky. We could Oneiro into Stammelfords just for damage. They only have 2 cards left, for what it's worth. So, could do this, do a decent sum of damage, or do a Lacerate in this row again, and basically just accept the fact that we will not play any more units in this round, because probably won't have the space for it no matter what. Again, Yrden is the biggest threat, but I think... why don't we just Lacerate here? We have the lead, and it is difficult for them to catch us because any boosts we will absorb. That doesn't change much. Leader ability, they will get Oneiro, I assume. But it's going to proc Assimilate, which, again, is counterproductive. But if this helps them get Yrden, that they may or may not have in their deck, then that may be all they're looking for here. No, it's Terra Nova, which I think we just saw is going to be to get our defender, right? But again, it procs Assimilate. And our defender has boosts, so it's gonna backfire a lot. Again, unless they have Yrden. And Yrden with Cahir is always one of the biggest risks. For what it's worth, if our rows were not full, we could use a leader ability charge to bump Cahir, one of the Cahirs, into the range row so that we are not completely vulnerable to that Yrden. But now I think we're looking at either Oneiro into a Stammelford's Tremors for pure damage, but we have a big enough lead that that's not a huge deal. I think we might want to save the flexibility on Oneiro. And Garrison, obviously, we can't really play. I think we just discard this heavy cavalry here. I think that's what we do. I think that's technically the best play. Gives us better round 3 plays. Yeah, they won't even try. So, no way to get Yrden. And that means we have card advantage going into round 3. Alright, but granted, our best finishers, we are actually really strong in a short round if we still had those Daerlin Soldiers and then use Vrygheff. But that was what I was planning to do in that round, but then they kind of messed with that strategy, that plan. So, we still have one Affan, which will get out Letho. I think Damien is probably our win condition here. And with our Echoed Oneiros, we should be able to make that happen. Stammelford's Tremors, I'm not sure we're going to get that much value out of it. Okay, well, Damien, we can guarantee that we get now, and we can use Oneiro for something else. So, why don't we stick with this in that case, I think. Not sure how much value we're going to get out of you, but we may be able to make 3 Damiens, potentially. So what do we lead off with, though? Probably lead off with... It's our only 5 provision cost card. I think it might be. Oh, no, you are as well. Okay, so... we get you out, we'll get you out as well. You are engines, so I think we probably still lead with you. And we'll use an Oneiro to get you. And we'll try to save our second Oneiro if possible. So I think we'll put you both in the range row, to be honest, especially because we're going to load up melee row a bit with our Damiens in the future. We want armor on you. May end up swapping you into the melee row once you have more armor and a little bit safer. Okay, Oneiro into the Urchin. It's not bad, but it's obviously better in a longer round. I mean, they could flip it, and it's still decent. But those boosts are negated if they do that flip. So now, Garrison is also going to give us a Bronze Soldier, which at this point is going to be a recruit. Yeah, that's not super valuable. Okay, admittedly, we may have wanted to use Oneiro for a second frigate in that case, but let's go. I think we are going to use Garrison here. And, oh, right, no, we can get a copy of card from our starting deck, in which case, let's go Crossbowman. Makes sense. We will not get a second copy of this because we don't have any more 5 provision cost cards in our deck. So it's just you, and only you. But now all of you guys are flanking. And then we're going to start to break out the Damiens with Damien, leader, Oneiro, leader ability, and we'll finish with Vrygheff. Steal our leader ability twice, which doesn't really matter. Again, that's not the best idea to boost up these urchins, because it makes it less valuable to flip them. So this does... well, we'll hold off on this. Now we go Damien. That should get our other Damien out from our deck. Now, we would like to keep you flanking, so let's keep the Damiens in the middle, or at least one of the Damiens in the middle here. And if they happen to lock a Damien, yes, we can use leader ability to switch it back around. Letho to transform into Damien, I mean, that's what we're about to do, for what it's worth. And also, he's destroyed with heavy cavalry, so nice try, but not so fast. They're going to create, what, a crossbowman? Don't think it's really going to be enough to be a big factor. If they hit Damien, they're going to deal damage here. They destroy the spy they created anyway. All right, so now I think we go leader ability to swap around the Damiens. / make sure you're on the flank, really. And that means we can now... Oh, well, we're going to want to do this again. And that'll get Affan out. And with Affan, we'll get Letho out, because Affan was a 10, and Letho is also a 10, which means we can get another Damien, which we can then use Damien to, let's again make sure that you remain on the flank, and basically just make sure that everyone has armor, because we are eventually going to boost up cards that have armor. Technically speaking, we may want to wait to use these abilities until the very end, in case they're going to do something like Jordan, but if they had it, they were going to use it in round 2, right? And I'm pretty sure they just rage quit. So there you have it. They rage quit, and as it turns out, spamming a bug, not so great, because it turns out Nilfgaard soldiers is better anyway. Alright, so going up against Scoiat'ael here, and we'll go first. Alright, so we actually want to keep Letho in our deck because we potentially have a way to summon him out from our deck without needing to have him in hand. So that is preferable. Then we have Cahir, which is potentially a nice way to stop them from getting boosts, which I imagine they're dwarves, which means they'll have a mostly damage, but potentially fair bit of boost if they are run improver. Then Royal Decree could help us get our defender if Cahir does not give us that. They cost the same amount of provision, so we might get him. Damien, definitely nice. Why don't we swap out one of our bronze, yes, soldiers, and get Oneiro, because that is an amazing pickup for sure. And we still have Curse Scroll, which we can use to get another card if we feel like there's something in particular that we need. So, but our hand is looking good here. Our hand is looking good here. So why don't we begin maybe a little bit slow in case they're planning to, I don't know, destroy whatever we play first here. So let's begin with the Ard Feainn Cavalry range row, and there it will load up on additional armor now. Unfortunately, we don't have anything to damage immediately with the crossbowman, but we can throw it down here for the moments, and it will continue to gain armor, making it a little bit harder for them to shut it down, and then will hopefully deal damage once they start playing units. Okay, call the forest into what? Now, granted, damage is going to be a little bit hard because they are probably going to have a bunch of armor. But we'll see if we can break through it, and yep, that is not terribly surprising to see Zoltan Warrior. Now, how many... Oh, they're going to spawn into these guys. Armor, as I said, and there's another Zoltan Warrior. So we're going to lose armor on both these guys, but... Oh, and actually lose you altogether. Okay. Okay. Well, very, very strong tempo play, and of course Zoltan in general is just an amazing card. So, if we can get rid of his armor, then he does get significantly weakened, and it is primarily damage at the moment, but it might transition into boosts in the future, which dictates when we may or may not want to play Cahir. So, I mean, we could do bleed, and that goes through armor, but I think we'd try to get rid of your armor on these to no longer make them engines. So let's go with a crossbowman here, and deliberately get rid of your armor, and get another crossbowman, and deliberately get rid of your armor. And now they will deal damage every turn, since there are units for them to damage, and they have armor still. Wagenberg will give them more armor. Okay. Okay, more damage. So it's interesting. In some ways, it almost feels like these are alternate versions of the same type of deck, armor and damage, but obviously this soldier's Nilfgaard archetype has very recently been significantly changed, so you wouldn't really have seen this before. But let's see, so what else do we want to do now? We can continue to get armor every turn for these guys, so they can sort of tank these hits, which is definitely nice. But what else do we have in deck, maybe, that we would like to get here? We do still have one more crossbowman, but then maybe a heavy cavalry as well might get summoned out. The second card we play. So, or Pikeman is also 5, so this will summon something else out, and yeah, this can work. This can work. Damage the most recent card that they played, and we have the flanking at the moment, so that works. We played soldiers, which means that these guys will still deal damage, and they will still load up on armor in the range row. Okay. They go for the destruction there, and more armor generation. So yeah, as I said, it is basically like a alternate versions of the same deck here. But they have swarmed more than we have been able to swarm, which is a bit of an issue. Because we are basically just trading damage and hitting armor, which is not doing much on both sides. So that's why I was trying to get the Alba Pikeman out here, because the bleed could go through that. So we might still opt to do that here. And I think we want you in the ranged row. Build up on armor. And you have enough armor that hopefully that's not a huge deal, that you're no longer in your flanking position. Alright, but again, they're going to destroy that. There is Brewer, so that's what we were waiting for to see if we wanted to play Cahir. And it's double Brewer. Okay, so we are definitely playing Cahir. Alright, so let's break him out. And we'd like to see our Defender, which is also a 9 provision cost card, and so would help protect Cahir, of course. And there he is. So what this does is it means that we will match all of their boosts, which just means we're going to keep pace with them. But if we get our second Cahir out here, then we can actually get more boosts than they get. So we're probably going to need to do that if we're going to outscore them here. So, I mean, we have Royal Decree, we have Oneiro, we have Curse Scroll, so we can definitely make that happen. But it'll have to wait until next turn. And now you are no longer flanking. So, might need to swap you around with our leader ability. And make sure you have armor as well, in that case. Trying to get rid of our Defender, trying to break through it, but there you see the huge boost on Cahir, so I think we will go and let's do... We'll use Oneiro to get it, I think. Because that way we can go Oneiro into our second Oneiro. And that way we're getting both echoed copies, which helps us a lot in the next round. And we are looking for either Cahir or our second Defender. So we do this. And we get our other Defender down here as well. And now let's just swap you two. So you're on the end and have armor, so we can use your ability. And so let's also use Curse Scroll, because this might be the last turn that we actually play. And with it, I'd like to get Garrison in hand, I think. And we'll dump you. So although we haven't technically caught them here, or at least it doesn't look like we've technically caught them here, because when they pass, they're still going to get boosts. And we are still going to absorb all those boosts with Cahir. It's still not quite enough. It's still not quite enough, actually. Okay, so I think we will play further here. I think we will still go for the win. And then it should in round 1. Because they will, again, continue to boost with Brewer, I think that just about anything will suffice here with us absorbing all those Cahir boosts. So not too worried about that. In that case, I think that means we're basically just going for whatever is our smallest play here. Technically, Garrison does have resilience, but I do like the deployability a lot on it, so it might kind of have to be Vreemde. And that means, let's go for you, since we have a couple copies of you, although technically you would have liked to have kept you guys on the flank. And, well, at least we can trigger these abilities extra times, and that is definitely going to be enough once the boosts from Brewer kick in, and boost us more than boost them. So yes, we do have to go a card down here to win round 1, but we do win round 1. Actually, 2 cards down. But we draw into both Echoed Oneiros, as expected, and a Royal Decree, so we are very, very high on the tutors here, which is perhaps a little concerning, because, well, I mean, I suppose we can still make that work, but we might want to have a special finisher of the damaging variety instead. Alright, so be it. I think we will dry pass here, because obviously we played 2 more cards in them in the previous round, so we're going to be a card down in round 3, but I think this will be an interesting test with this new Soldiers deck, just how much tempo can it put up, because I think the answer is a lot. Yeah, they're obviously going to use the throwaway. And I think we have learned a lot about their deck. They have a ton of armor and a ton of damage, so our damage is going to be hard to break through. Okay, so my plan was to get a Daerlin Soldier out here, and then swarm the board with them, and use cards like Vreemde to power that up, and then give them armor with Garrison. Actually, I was going to get it with Garrison. So, not sure we want you in hand. Vreemde, I was going to tutor in, but okay. Yeah, it's hard to know exactly when we have this many tutors what we're going to end up playing directly and what's going to get tutored, but we'll make do here. Alright, Xavier is a boosting card, and that is not something they wanted to see. That is something you want to be careful of in this event, is try to have cards that cost the same amount of provisions that work at the same time in a round, because this is an early round play, this is a late round play. If you're forced into playing both of them together unexpectedly, then it's not going to help you very much. So now I think let's still start with, maybe we still go damage. And it's going to be hard to break through that armor. But then for you, yeah, let's put you here. Try to make sure that you continue to have armor. Alright, it's another Xavier, which means they're probably going to get another... Oh, no, they have... That means they have their other Dennis in hand, otherwise they would have summoned him out just then. So we know what their finisher is. And we know they don't have any other 7 provision cost units in their deck, for whatever that's worth. So now I think we need to figure out what we're doing with our tutors, right? We're going to get Affan and Letho out from our leader ability. We have Damien in hand, so we'll get the other one out. Do we still have a 6 provision cost card? Yeah, we do. So we don't need to tutor you out. Let's, in that case, go for more of the Ard Feainn like Cavalry, I think. And just try to make it really difficult for them to play anything. We might need to swap you around a little bit to make sure that you continue to have armor, because that is important for you. Okay, like so. Or they're going to go after this guy, I think, but... So you're going to take a fair bit of damage from these guys. Okay, we need armor on you, so we will use a leader ability charge to move you around a bit. Let's get you down here, I think. We need a little bit of time to power you up. And I think the crossbowmen, I mean, yes, they will have a little more damage on this skirmisher and coming from this berserker, but I think we can still make this work. So let's go there for you, and then we're going to swap you guys. Give you both additional armor. Make it so that we can ensure that this guy's going to take 3 points of damage from this, and therefore lose all of his armor. And we played a soldier on this turn, so this crossbowman should deal damage. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Alright, it's another Dwarven Skirmisher. And they can break through our armor, yes, but they can't actually destroy any of those guys. Well, now they can. So... Just trying to gauge the timing of our swarm. So we go Garrison, get out the Daerlin Soldiers. Then we want to boost the Daerlin Soldiers. We might be looking for an earlier Damien. I think he may need to be happening on the earlier side. So, I mean, we still have a little bit more time, yes, but why don't we maximize the time a little more on some of our other bronze engines here? We don't have that many left, to be honest. So, I think these are mostly going to be for special cards. With the one exception maybe being, let's go recruit here. And with these recruits, we'll swap into other more valuable soldiers on our next turn. Otherwise, they will be removal bait, but we know we actually don't have that many soldiers left, so honestly, if they get rid of a recruit or two, we're probably fine with that. 4 armor, so those guys will start to deal damage again once they get that armor back. 4 skirmishers for more damage, and these guys do survive. Now, what are we still going to get from them, though? Alba Pikeman and Ard Feainn Cavalry, I suppose, which technically we'd like to have you in the range row. So I think in that case, let's see, we have 2 leader ability charges left. Do need to get Damien out here relatively soon. Why don't we... I think we'll swap here into you. Put you in the range row. Then we'll get you out. Put you here. And granted, that was perhaps the car that I was thinking we would swap into. So we could then go with this recruit into, well, another recruit. And with that recruit, just get a higher amount of power, basically. Oh, and we technically haven't played anything on this turn. Right. We'll go Damien. Technically, he was not the first card that we played on this turn, which means that we're not getting the extra copy of him. So we may Oneiro into that. As I was saying, it was either going to be Oneiro into a special card for damage, but they have a lot of armor, so it's not going to be all that effective. Or, in this case, extra Damien charges. And they're going to deal a fair bit of damage to this pikeman if we don't do something about that. So let us maybe... Can remove you with bleed. So let's do that. Then we can use a leader ability charge to swap you around, and we'd probably like to do that. So you're in a flanking position. And reactivating that, then we want to use our last leader ability charge anyway, so that we can get value out of Damien. So let's go, and now... Let's do this. Okay, now here comes Affan from our deck, which means we're going to get Letho from our deck, which we can use to transform into an additional Damien, bring back our leader ability charges, and we technically still have not played a card. I admittedly wanted to wait to play Vreemde until we brought out our Daerlin Soldiers, but we have clogged our rows so much so that it would be difficult for us to fit in all those Daerlin Soldiers, so a lot of things that technically we were looking to do on that turn. Double Damien, all leader ability charges, potentially use all leader ability charges again. That will get out Affan, get out the second Affan, get out Vreemde. We can still get out the foot soldiers with Oneiro, but, or with Garrison. The problem is we kind of needed to leave a row fairly empty because we have a bazillion copies of these guys. But I suppose it's not actually super necessary. And we may instead opt for, let's see. Let's move some people back around into flanking positions. Like so. And bleed. Then, let's go here. And we could Lacerate on this turn, but I think we'll go Letho for even more Damien, so we can get even more Damien. And we'll leave it at this for the time being, because if Affan stays here, we can wait and maximize the armor on all of our guys and get a bigger boost out of him. And of course, with all of our Damiens, we can do a lot of switching around and make sure that we get a bunch of armor. So we have Garrison, which will help us get armor as well. And, I mean, that's probably where we are. Still going to end up going Daerlin Soldier in this row, and then we'll finish with Oneiro into a special card. So it gets a little chaotic. We could technically go Crossbowman here, which I might actually prefer. To be honest with you, I think I actually prefer that. So let's do this. And hit. You're gonna continue to get armor, so let's get rid of you altogether. Then, at this point, let's swap some people around just for the sake of getting armor, and also, let's continue to lead. Who would like armor? So we can still do it like this, even when our rows are full. And we can basically just continue to spam it every turn with Damien. And then once everyone has armor, we can use Affan for even more boosts. Which is currently the case, actually, but Lacerate is going to change that. And some of their abilities might change that as well. So we can boost an allied soldier in all copies of it, give them 1 armor. We have, actually, I think the most Damiens, oddly enough, right now. So let's do that. Then let's reactivate leader ability and do this for bleed. And make sure that you have armor in particular. Make sure that everybody has armor. That is the top priority. They may have rage quit. But anyways, our goal there is use as many leader ability charges as possible to give everyone armor, use Affan to boost everyone that has armor, and then finish with Oneiro into a special card to deal damage to them. A little messy because of how many units we have on the board, but hey, it works. And yeah, it looks like they rage quit. Alright, so got up against Syndicate here, and we'll go first. Alright, so there's a non-zero chance that this could be a double Salamander deck, in which case we could be in a lot of trouble. But, let's see. Let's get rid of Affan, because we can summon him out from our deck when we use our leader ability. Other than that, this is workable, though we perhaps could still get some bigger stuff. So what if we drop one of our lower provision bronze soldiers? Okay, definitely don't want multiple Daerlin Soldiers, though, because we'd like to summon all those out. Okay, Royal Decree obviously gives us a lot of flexibility, and with Curse Scroll, we can get even more flexibility. So, to start things off with here, why don't we begin by maybe loading up on the armor on these guys by playing them in the range row, and then once they've built up a lot of armor, they will deal damage to our opponents. Then for you, we don't have anyone to deal damage to at the moment, obviously. But in your case, I mean, either row you're going to have flanking. But I guess we'll go here for the time being. So there's the armor. Right, Scapegoat, which they will presumably try to hit. Now this is technically a bug, where it... rather than playing a 4 provision cost card from their deck, it plays one from our deck, and Recruit, they probably don't have any soldiers, so it's not exactly all that valuable of a card for them to steal. And now, where do we like to go next? We could go flanking with the Pikeman. That's an option. Could go Recruit into something else. Could go with another Crossbowman here. Maybe we do that. And hit you. And then can put you here so that you're flanking as well. That means we are going to have a lot of damage every turn now, and this guy is going to deal some damage to our opponent pretty soon as well. Okay, Salamander Mage. Solid damage, and another Salamander Mage for even more solid damage. And they did reach 9 coins, so there's the Flying Redanian. But we could, of course, go for even more damage here. That is an option, and perhaps one that we would like to pursue here. Because these guys, yeah, they will potentially continue to earn them additional coins if they pay more tributes, which I suspect that may be something that they are looking to do. So why don't we go Pikeman here? That'll give us another Crossbowman. Okay. Now, flanking starts to become a little bit tricky because we have enough units in the row that you're not going to be flanking for a while. Why don't we'll do this. You're going to come down and you're not going to be flanking anymore. But we might lead our ability to swap some people around after this turn. Because there you go. Sea Jackal. Into more Sea Jackals, so you get destroyed. The second one will not. And so we can give you bleeding. We might... What would we like to do with you? We do have Curse Scroll, which of course we can use to get, and should get, Oneiro. And then with that, we have a lot of flexibility, of course. So let's at least do that now. And maybe put back the Recruit. Then let's give bleeding to somebody. Let's go Oneiro, and then you should always go Oneiro into your second Oneiro, so you get both echoed copies. Then with that, would say Defender. And then maybe Royal Decree into either Cahir or... And we'll see what we get here. It is Cahir. So hide him down there. So he's now behind a Defender, and that means if they try to boost with the Sea Jackal, we are going to absorb those boosts. Oh, and granted, Cahir doesn't have flanking, so... well, yeah, as I said, we should probably try to shuffle some people around here with our leader ability to maximize the value of this guy in particular. And you as well, I suppose. Alright, so yep, we're going to absorb those boosts. Scapegoat. We're going to steal another card from our deck. Now, that's a little unfortunate because, although they are definitely not going to have any Daerlin Soldiers, we're going to summon all them out, and it works really well as a finisher in a short round in particular. So that does weaken this guy a little bit. But now, why don't we give some more bleeding? Use some leader ability charges here. Let's swap you with Ffion, so you're going to get flanking. Let's swap you with Cahir to give you armor, and then you're in a flanking position. So you need to have armor to use your ability. Then we'd like to play a soldier. And Vreemde is best when we're combining it with the Daerlin Soldier, but I kind of want to try to save that. So I think instead we've, what? 3 of the crossbowmen, so sure. We'll use it on the crossbowman. And then here, we can trigger the end of turn ability as 2 bronze soldiers. Let's go once again for the damage on those guys. And that means the damage is really adding up. And they can boost all they'd like. Here we'll continue to absorb those boosts. Savola is a big tempo play. And the summoning is big because we don't absorb the boost from that. Oh, okay. Hold on, though. This is getting interesting. Double King of Beggars. That's a very solid point slam. And then they can destroy... Well, not a great option there. Oh, did they... Oh, they couldn't spend, could they? They didn't have the 6 to destroy a card. Otherwise, they would have preferred Ffion. But even with that point slam, they have not caught us here. We will continue to deal damage every turn from our crossbowmen. And if they try to boost, Cahir will match those boosts. So we might pass here and dare them to try to catch us. Obviously, it's not a huge difference in terms of points, but given how we will continue to at least deal damage, possibly continue to get boosts as well, it may be a little bit tougher than would first appear for them to match us. I mean, alternatively, we could go with another Vreemde. It's not a terrible option, but I'd kind of, again, like to save that for Daerlin Soldier in the future. And Stammelford's Tremors is okay. Not amazing, and maybe we save Royal Decree as well. So let's pass here. Oh, but granted, yeah, we didn't play a soldier this turn, so actually, these guys will not deal damage. So we're relying mostly on Cahir in that case. The big thing, though, is that they have used what was probably one of, if not their biggest finishers, with Savola plus Frightener and getting King of Beggars out from their deck. So they can't repeat that combo. Sea Jackal, well, if that's your answer, you gotta be pretty careful there, because we will match those boosts. I think we are tied, and boosting does not help you, because we will match those boosts. So that's what I mean. It's not as straightforward for them to catch us as it might have appeared. And they are now down a card. And so they have no choice but to lose a card down, or tie a card down in round 1. And now we have our double Echoed Oneiro for this round, which is amazing, tutors-wise. Don't want to get this Daerlin Soldier. We'd like to keep our soldier, our only soldier, in hand and some of the rest of them out here. Cavalry, I mean, sure. Let's see, Oneiro, we'd probably go and get maybe our other defender. And that will likely give us, I think it might be guaranteed to give us our other Cahir. Then maybe we use our other tutor to get Damien. Yeah, I think that's probably sufficient. Let's go for that. I think this will work. So now we have double Last Say, it looks like, which is going to be really difficult for them if they were planning on using the Salamander, which I initially suspected might have been the case, although hasn't looked as much like a Salamander deck as of late. Then them not having Last Say is a pretty big deal. Sewer Raiders, big swarm point slam there. That's basically what we're looking to do with the Daerlin Soldier, but first, we need to have a soldier on the board, so let's start with you, or I mean, we could go Defender, Yeah, actually, yeah, let's go Oneiro into... Yeah, no, they're going to forfeit. It's going to be Defender plus Cahir. They couldn't have boosted with their Slice Adeptus in that case because it would have matched it, and then we would have swarmed ourselves with the Daerlin Soldiers and boosted all those guys up with Affan. So there's a look at a new Nilfgaard Soldiers deck for the new Double Down seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below. Let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. And I already had a bunch of Nilfgaard ideas for this event, and obviously we just got a huge Nilfgaard rework. So let me know, would you be opposed to us just making a ton of Nilfgaard decks this week? Because there are still some more very interesting and unique decks that we've not yet played. Or should we still mix it up with other factions? Well, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.